Everybody to the regular scheduled meeting of the Angelina County Commissioners Court. I'd like the record to reflect that all of the commissioners are present. And this is the March 26, 2019 meeting. Let's see, I'd like to call everybody to order and welcome opening prayer by Reverend Randy Brown, Southside Baptist Church, Lufkin, Texas. If you would, everybody stand for the prayer.
Then let's pray together. Father, we just thank you, thank you, Lord, for your presence. We thank you for your love and your mercy upon us. We pray for our community, Lord, and our commissioners and the judge, Lord, and our county officials, Lord. We ask, God, that you give them wisdom and discernment as they carry on their duties. And Father, we pray that you would choose to bring unity and peace and prosperity to our county as well. We pray these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. And everybody, if you would, follow Commissioner Cheshire as we honor the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And remain standing while Commissioner Harrison honors the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, be seated. All right, item number 4, discussion action on awarding the bid in the lease of the farmer's market. Commissioner Pitts, do you want to lead this off, or either one of y'all that was on the selection?
Yeah, Judge, I will. After careful consideration of all the bids we received, it's the committee's recommendation to this court that we award the bid to Tommy and Lynn Brown. Now, I'd make that in the form of a motion.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, number 5, Angelina County Waste Management Center requests permission to consider awarding a contract for construction of sectors J1 and K1 liners. Chuck.
What we're doing, we put it out on SendCAD. We got numerous opportunities that people pulled the plans off of, but we only got 6 official bids. Crockett Construction being the lowest. There was a $600,000 difference between the highest and the lowest. It's under Everett Griffith and Associates recommendation to take the lowest bid, which is Crockett Construction.
You're making a recommendation to take Crockett Construction. Have they done work for us before?
No.
What's your opinion?
I don't know anything about them. They haven't never built a landfill before, but they're in the dirt business. And
Would any of these others that made a bid, are they familiar with our landfill? And
Hammett Excavation has done our final closure in our landfill. Allen Loggins has done a little bit of a couple of sales for us. They were actually the ones that built the first ones. Duplachain, never heard of them. Williams Equipment, never heard of them. And Longhorn Excavators, I've never had any dealings with them.
if you had a second choice, what would it be?
Next lowest bid would be Hammett Excavation.
I understand the next lowest bid, but just out of everybody that bid, who would you feel most comfortable working with?
I'm not gonna pick a favorite.
Not gonna.
I'm not
Is
I'm not
Rick
gonna get in the
Freeman,
middle of that, but
Is Rick Freeman, he's with Goodwin, Everett Griffin?
yes, sir. He's been the engineer. He's the one that actually,
recommended.
he's been at the landfill since the 70s. I believe is when they started. But they reassure us they can do the job in 120 days that's provided.
Crockett Construction did?
Yes. I mean, they have ample amount of equipment to do the job, but you know, I mean, you don't know till you get them here.
Chuck, do you have any questions as to whether or not you and your staff could make sure that it's done properly and everything?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, Terracon's out there and there's no getting around doing a landfill. Everything is watched and.
It's gotta be done right.
Oh, it's gotta be done right.
You bet.
Everything's sampled that they do, so. And you got Rick the engineer, I mean, it's just like building a state highway. They cut blue tops on the whole thing. I mean, it's down to the wire.
Yeah,
No shortcuts involved.
right.
If they reassure us they got all the equipment to do it with, what they don't have, they'd rent. Everything's GPS, and they got 120 days to do it, so.
Got you.
I mean, it's hard to kick somebody out that you don't know, you never had a chance to work with, so.
Right.
And they were the lowest bid.
Okay, guys?
I'm not always in favor of the lowest bidder, but.
I understand that, but I mean, I don't have
want somebody that's
any,
gonna be able to do the job that's gonna last and something we're not gonna have to come back and throw more money after.
they might be overqualified than, somebody else. I don't know. I've never worked with them before.
That's fine with me. I'm gonna run on your recommendation to make a motion to go with Crockett Construction.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to go with Crockett Construction. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Chuck. All right. Item number 6, appearance of Mr. Keith Leffler, Massa MTS, to present an employee benefit for emergency medical transportation. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for bringing me in, allowing me to talk to you guys about our program. Has anybody heard about Massa? Anybody know about it? Well, I'm going to talk to you briefly about something that you kind of don't think about till you have a family member, a loved one, or maybe a friend in your circle that's ever had an air ambulance ride. Anybody know somebody that's ever gotten one of those? Any idea what they cost? They're about, these days, they're about 50, 60 grand average. I can sit here for an hour and tell you stories about $100,000 and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, typical ground ambulance is anywhere from about 2,000 to 5,000, okay? So that's where Massa comes into play. So who is Massa? What do we do? How does it work? We're an employee benefit for emergency medical transportation, air or ground. Okay, so we got started back in 1974, started in the Caribbean, kind of a pretty neat story. The owner of Massa had his own plane, used to go to the Caribbean a lot, started seeing the need for repatriation of people coming back to the States for medical attention. Great American story, that's how we started. Well, about 3.5 years ago, we brought on another division, domestic division, which is United States and Canada. So, that's how we got started. Gosh, I've been doing this right at 3.5 years, and I could give you a list of references, which I may have given it to the judge. But anyway, we've covered my territory. We've done, Jasper County, Tyler County, all those guys. But anyway, so just kind of giving you a resume on who we are, what we do. But so how does it work? How does Massa work? I know that there's other similar type helicopter benefits out there, but here's the difference between us and them. They're only helicopter, okay, air. We're air or ground. We don't own helicopters. We don't own ambulances. We just pay the bills on the backside, okay? So, so anyway, so how does it work? So if you're a member with Massa and say you get in a car wreck, heart attack, what have you, and you get life flighted to, I don't know, where would be the closest place? Maybe Beaumont? Or where, I don't know where they would send you. Tyler? Okay. So they life flight you to Tyler. What's going to happen is whoever transports you, air or ground, they're going to bill your insurance first. Your insurance is going to pay somewhere in the neighborhood of a fourth to a third of that bill. Usual and customary, and they're going to make that rule. Then about 30 or 60 days later, you're going to get the rest of the bill, the EOB, right? Once you get that EOB, you call up Massa, you turn in the EOB to us, along with the run notes. At that point, we take it from there. we cover the rest of it. We, like I said, we've been doing this since '74, so we've got fee schedules, negotiated rates, however you want to call it, with all these ambulance companies, whereas you, the individual, you don't have that leverage. So, all the EMS, let's say the local EMS, they love us because they're actually going to get paid versus not getting paid. A company, Air Methods, I don't know if you ever heard of them, but they're the largest air ambulance company in the United States. They endorsed us right at a year ago. April will be exactly a year. And they had their own membership program, but they liked our deal better because they got paid by insurance and Massa paid on top of that versus not getting paid. So I put one of these at y'all's desk if you want to look at the pricing real quick. And keep in mind, this is, like I said, an employee benefit that covers your entire family. It's not just you, the employee. It covers you, spouse or partner, and dependents up to age 26. We're not insurance, but we try to follow the same guidelines, ACA guidelines, just to cut out confusion. So we're actually a benefit. But I'll just run through the different programs right quick. The Platinum, which is this one right here, it covers any ground, any air, repatriation, and extended benefits, things that you don't think about, like, mortar remains. I always like to use that one. Nobody plans on going on vacation and have to get the mortar remains back. That one is worldwide. Covers you no matter where you're at. Nobody plans on going to Cancun and dying, but it's a lot of red tape, about $100,000 to bring a dead body back. That one's $39 a month. But keep in mind, that covers your entire family for the 39. People want to get that a little confused, thinking it's per family member. It's total family. And then probably the most popular one is that Emergent Plus, which is covers you domestically, United States and Canada. It's $14 a month, covers you, the employee, spouse, dependents, age 26. And then that last one is Emergent Ground. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of the ground. I mean, I can swallow that $2,000 bill. It's that $50,000 or $60,000 bill. I'd rather hand off to Massa and go, hey, here's your bill. So anyway, there's no budget impact to the county. We call it Cities County School District. No budget impact unless you choose to make it employer pay. Some people do, some don't. Other than that, it's a voluntary deal. Just offer it to the employees, and either they do it or don't.
Keith, I understand you're working with some other counties now in our area. Mm-hmm. Who are you working with now?
Tyler County, we just signed them up last year. We've had Jasper County for 3 years. I'm going to Newton County 1st of April. All this area, but I live in Katy area, just west of Katy. So I kind of started in my territory, Waller County, Lavaca County, Jackson County, all the way to Galveston County. And then last year I went to Lee County, San Jacinto County, Burleson County. I mean, I can send you a list of references, but, and that's just counties. But we, like I said, we deal with cities, school districts. A lot of the brokers, they deal with the school districts, and we deal with a lot of brokers. So
right.
It's, I've been a little busy past 3.5 years.
Oh, yeah. Commissioners?
Make sure I understood you right. After insurance pays, y'all cover 100% of what's left?
Yep. And, what we do is, like I said, we have fee schedules, but just as a safety net, we do our part in trying to regulate the air ambulance cost. And so now that a lot of these ambulance, mostly I keep referring to air ambulance because that's the big ticket item. So now that they're starting to really figure out who Massa is and all that stuff on the domestic program, we have to try to do our best to keep it under control. So as a safety net, if we had to, we would pay the member $20,000 and help them negotiate the deal, but it never, ever comes to that. We have yet to pay one of those. So at the end of the day, the air ambulance companies, they're still a business. And here's a kind of a statistic that I took from Air Methods. They said on average, just a citizen that's had an air flight, it takes on average 4 years to collect $1,500. So if they get transported by Air Methods, Hopefully, they'll have insurance. Insurance is gonna pay 10, 12 grand up to 50 grand. And then 4 years to get $1,500 out of that individual, average. Well, you know, those 10 people that were in front of you that don't have any assets, and you have some assets, land, what have you, guess what? You're it. So that's why people go, you know what? And my wife hates when I use this word, but the CYA plan, that's what I call this. I'd rather have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. But anyway, so to answer your question, yes.
And the platinum plan, the emergency plus plan, the emergency ground plan,
Yes, sir.
$39 a month, those premium costs us, covers every family member,
Correct. For 39 or 14 or 9, whichever plan,
covers my entire.
covers your entire family. Right.
Family
People,
of 6.
right, up to age 26. Yeah, people want to get that confused, like $14 per family member. No.
Okay.
Just $14 period, $7 a pay period. And it covers your entire family.
If I understood you correctly, this is not something that you want us to make mandatory. This is just an option that you're putting out here for.
I would love for you to make it mandatory.
I'm not
Hey, you
gonna-
asked me.
I'm not gonna do that.
Yes, it's a voluntary program, which is another good thing, is we're not IRS 125, meaning open enrollment, we're 155 voluntary, so we can come in and do enrollments year-round, which we do quite often. And, you know, I'll give you a quick little story. Last year, January, we did Brazoria County, Angleton, if you know where that is. Pretty big county. And one of the lieutenants for the sheriff's department, we did the enrollment end of January, 2 payroll deductions February, effective March 1. Well, April 2nd, lieutenant for the sheriff's department had a massive heart attack, life flighted to Houston. So we come back in August for open enrollment. Well, I'm talking to the HR ladies, and they're like, man, did you hear about lieutenant? And I went, no, what? And so I call him up. He gives me the story. He said, man, I had your program for 30 days. You saved me 40 grand. And he said it worked just like you said. I mean, insurance paid X amount. He had a secondary, some kind of something through the sheriff's department, I think. Paid a little bit, handed off the EOB and the run notes to us. We paid the 40 grand. And I said, you know what? Tell all your officers this, because those guys, they're hard. They're hard. But anyway.
Do you have a mandatory percentage?
We don't. That's typically something with you guys. Perfect example, Jasper County. They did, but that's a year process. So, no, as far as we don't.
Is this something that we should visit with the insurance committee?
Oh, yeah.
Or,
I think so.
Yeah, I agree. This is a first contact, and this is something that we can discuss unless y'all want to do something, today. We can actually discuss this again and have Keith come back up and, sure. Yeah, this is a first contact. I've looked at it, and it's an impressive program, but, you know, it's something that everybody needs to talk about, and of course, auditor needs to get involved.
yeah.
And one thing that I will caution you, and insurance companies, I've had several people that have signed up or were about to sign up. They've called, you know, I don't know who y'all's insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, or whichever one it is. And they run this past them, and they say, if I get an air ambulance ride or ground, how much do y'all pay? They're going to tell you 100%. But what they're not going to tell you is of usual and customary. So you got to be careful of that, because they make that rule. So it's, you know, unfortunately, the air ambulance company and the insurance company, they got two different usuals and customaries.
Exactly.
So,
We would need a motion to table it and study it some more in the future.
I do want to table it, make a motion to table it, and have the insurance review committee
All
look
right.
it over.
Second.
Second, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Keith.
you bet. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, discussion request for this, by the sheriff's office to receive funds through the tobacco enforcement program to conduct controlled buy/stings and follow-ups involving the use of minors in accordance with Subchapter H, 161, Texas Health and Safety Code. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Mouthful, wasn't it?
It was a mouthful.
Yes, it's a mouthful. This is a request we're making. We didn't have this grant last year, but we've had it about 3 or 4 years since I've been here. It's funds that are administered through Texas State University through the Tobacco Enforcement Program, and it's similar to the one I presented the other day with the minor things on alcohol. It's the same thing. Tabor-fied funds, and what we do is provide manpower, and they give us a list, and it's about, in Angelina County, there's about, I think, roughly 100 stores that sell tobacco products, and the big deal now is the e-cigarettes. And only difference in this grant that we've had in the past, that require us to spend 50% of our attempts on e-cigarettes. Now, that's the big deal in the even the junior highs. And a lot of the kids feel like this is not dangerous for them or whatever, but there is a law that they can't buy them under 18. But we're having a lot of problem with that now. It's very popular. So they're wanting us to spend 50% of our time enforcing the e-cigarette enforcement, which I think is a good deal. And they will in turn reimburse us $100 for each attempt that we make. And we've had this, like I said, we've done this grant in the past 3 or 4 times, and we've had no problems with it. It's really a win-win for everybody. The coalition's they're really on board for it because it helps them in their program as far as deterrent minors using tobacco products, and now the e-cigarettes.
In the past, it's been very effective too.
Yes, and we get a lot of publicity from the media out of that, and through the coalition, a lot of publicity, and it's just a little watch guard, just to remind. In general, we have compliance, good compliance, but then there are people that employees, the businesses are real good about, but you hire an employee and they friends. And stuff like that, kids come in or they get a little slack. And what we do is if they sell, it's just a Class B misdemeanor on the cigarettes, we issue them a citation. And then what we do is a follow-up. We'll come back like in a month and make another attempt to see if they're still, selling. And we've had real good luck with it, but they don't. It's a good deterrent, but it's like anything, like speeding. Every once in a while, someone slips up. And that's a good reminder for them. And like I said, the funds are not, there's no strings attached to the funds. We usually use it to buy either surveillance equipment or things that was not budgeted for that we may need to use the funds to buy that with. So it's a win for everybody.
Do we use pretty much our own people?
We use the deputies, and of course we have to, normally it's some of the deputies' siblings that we use because they have to be under 14. There's certain, like on the alcohol, they have to be under 17 on the tobacco because they don't want to bring a guy in there that's, 17, got a full beard, and that's not really fair, So they have to look like, they have to be very obvious that they're too young to buy cigarettes. So so they're not entrapped,
Right.
And we usually use the deputies, their siblings, they'll bring them in, not siblings, but their children, and bring them in and use them.
Cool.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you,
All right,
Captain.
just a few documents we get through, we get signed.
You bet. You bet. All right, item number 8, Chief, the Sheriff. Discussion action on submittal by Sheriff Greg Sanchez of the Angelina County Sheriff's Racial Profiling Report for 2018 as required by law.
Right, well, we're here today to present it. Chief's got it put together. We had turned in TICO, and then also we need to present it to the commissioners today, just to let you know that it has been taken care of.
All right.
If you'll notice from last year's, if you compare the two, the legislative session, they changed the law beginning in 2018, which requires a lot more information to be reported to the state and also to the Commissioner's Court regarding racial profiling. And it's, every agency is required to do this, whether it's a state or a county or whatever. If you make traffic stops, you're required to report that information on racial profiling. And this report gives you a breakdown of all the gender and the race and the ethnicity and the reason for the stop. And tells you where the stops took place. And there's quite a bit of information in there. And also, we track locally at our office by individual officers, so we can go and compare to see and check every officer to make sure everything is on the up and up. And I can tell you everything looked good on our part. Last year, it was basically just citations. This year, it's going to be warnings and everything. So it's a lot more thorough report, and it tells you the numbers. I think everybody, all of y'all have a copy of it, I believe, in your packets there.
Essentially, you're reporting every contact.
If it's a traffic stop, yes, on traffic stops, yes.
Where does Angelina County stack up against the rest of the state on an average?
Depending on, I couldn't tell you, the counties are different sizes, and so I don't.
We'd have to do a comparison to counties and Angelina.
You'd have to gather all their stats to start with, and
Yeah, I didn't know
that'd
if
be a
you
lot of information.
possibly looked at that. It looked-
Now, the state at some point might compile that information, because they get all the information, the state does, if they could be the ones to compile it.
Yeah.
If we could get it from them, I could tell you.
Okay.
I have noticed one trend that, the discovery of contraband, there's about 24 points difference between, your stops. I'm not sure what page this is, third or fourth page, fifth page. 246 were contraband discovered, 269 was not discovered, a little less than 50%. Is that discovery of contraband on the incline, increase, compared?
Talking about number 8?
Yes, sir. Was the contraband
Was
discovered?
contraband discovered on this page right here?
Yeah. Are we on the increase as far as contraband discoveries in Angelina County, not necessarily, or is that about average?
It varies from year to
About-
year.
from
Yeah,
about
you'd have to go
average?
back and pull
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
years.
Yeah.
We're still working on our stats at this point,
Yeah.
so I hadn't completed the yearly stats.
Yeah, while we're talking about that, we're gonna, every year with the Angelina County Sheriff Department puts out an annual report.
Yeah.
And we're already working on that. Like Chief said, we will put that out pretty soon. So that'll give you a little bit more information when it comes to overall.
Thank you.
And present that to the
Right.
court?
Well, yeah, that we can, and then to the public, we'll put it online.
Be a good idea to,
We do that annually. We've
Yeah,
done
sure
that
they
from
do.
since 2013.
You bet.
Motion to approve is second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks,
you.
guys, and just,
Thank
you might as well stay there. Number 9, discussion and action on motion by Sheriff Greg Sanchez to move one position from the courthouse security back to patrol. Sheriff?
Yeah, probably in the year 14, we met here, and, got approved for court security, and I think it started January 15. We have 3 at the courthouse. We felt then it was too many, and we know now, just looking at it, it's too many. We have 2 over there. It's what we've been working with for a long time, because the sheriff department has been short, on manpower anyway, and we get them and they leave, and then so, time you get a new person, you've got to do all your FTO training. That takes 3 or 4 months. And so, we've been working with 2, and it's worked fine. So, what we'd like to do is take one of those positions over there and move it over to the sheriff department side to at least increase our manpower on the sheriff department side.
It's already budgeted.
Yeah, and
Oh,
it won't
it's
cost
already-
county, anything. We already got we're over those deputies anyway.
Sure.
And the captain, keeps an eye on the security, along with talking to, Joe Williams over there.
You bet.
But, we'd like to move one of those positions over to the sheriff department.
And it's gonna
Great.
get you one more person in the field.
Yeah, is that Mr. John's position that you're moving back over?
Well, it depends. We're just gonna look at it and evaluate it
Okay.
and see. We're gonna see which one we want to do.
Okay, I motion approved.
Okay.
got two positions that are deputies, and then you got one sergeant position, so.
Yeah.
So you, we're
That was my
going,
question. We
yeah, so we need to know which position, you're gonna move the sergeant position or the deputy?
probably need
position?
to visit which one you're gonna do, because are you still gonna need a sergeant at,
Now,
over one guy?
if we got two over there, the way we looked at it, we do not need a sergeant.
Yeah,
And
so, and I don't know if that's
so
something.
if we're
we need
going
to
to have to narrow it down today, we'd rather move the sergeant
Yeah,
be back to.
back to the sheriff
To the
department. 'Cause
we
moved it from
discussed
the
all
sheriff.
that, and it looked like it was gonna work.
Yeah,
fine,
that
so-
position.
Yes, we moved it from the sheriff department over there, then, so if we're gonna narrow it down today, then it'd be better to say, yes, move the sergeant back to the sheriff.
You bet.
Yeah.
Is that, I don't, it's nothing that need to be done during budget, I'm assuming? on
No, it's
that?
already,
'Cause
all we're doing
it's
is
all
moving
there.
the
I'll just-
position.
Yes.
Yeah, just move.
We're just trying to make sure that the Commissioners Court helps the sheriff and gets, some additional manning in the field
Yeah.
and placing a person that's not, they've been getting by with the two people at the courthouse, and they really haven't
And
needed
we
that.
have talked to the judges, and I know.
I have,
Judge Blueberry
I've
has as
addressed
well.
all the judges at the courthouse, and they're all good with it.
Comfortable with
We
it.
worked
Yes.
out a
Yeah.
compromise, they're all good with the change.
My question would be, like, if we have some type of high-profile case and we need extra security, you'll be able to pull in.
Oh, yeah, and we do that.
Yeah, we're responsible
I've
for that
seen that
anyway.
before. and I
Yes,
was just-
yes, and we have done that on several cases, even to help Joe and them. over
Good,
there.
good,
So that is never, that will never be a problem.
Right.
thank you. I'm in favor, make a motion to approve.
I think there's already one on the floor.
Well, I
Yeah,
second.
he got a motion already.
I second.
He's second.
Well, let's vote on
Okay.
it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, guys.
Thank y'all.
All right, number 10, appearance of Jill Brewer, County Treasurer, to present and request approval of the monthly treasurer's report for months ending January and February 2019. Good morning.
Good morning. Just when you thought the quarterly investment report was not enough, I'm gonna give you more stuff to look at. More numbers, in a different order, in a different way. Really what this is I know as department heads, you are used to looking at an income statement, which tells you your revenues and expenses. What this is would be like a cash flow statement. So the treasurer's report, which is required to do, Deborah never did it because she said the software wouldn't do it and the software will not do it. So I have to kind of wave my magic wand and make this happen. Okay, it's a little more complicated than that, but, so this is, what this is telling you is what our beginning cash is, and then our revenues, which is the money that came in and the money that went out, and then the change in assets and the liabilities. And while we may not think that's important, the difference between the revenue column and the expenditure column is the same difference between your assets and your liabilities columns. So even though they're four different numbers, they're not the same, but the difference is exactly the same. So that tells you that this is balanced and this works. And I know it's really exciting because it's numbers. If you guys have any questions on this, you can ask me. It took me 2 weeks to figure this one out.
Took you how long?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
To figure out how
We
to
better
make this
come up with
work.
questions since you took so much time.
Well, I think you should. It took me 2 weeks to figure out why we had two columns of numbers that were exactly the same, how they worked, what I had to subtract and add together to get that. So if you have a question, I would really appreciate it. That's the first page, is your, basically a cash flow and maybe some old terminology is your sources and usage page, where it's coming in and it's going in, it's showing you how the cash is flowing and how it affects your assets and your liabilities.
I've got a question.
Sure. You've always had questions about
You
this.
bet. We've always had the quarterly report before, but I understand
This is not gonna
now-
replace this.
I understand. We're still gonna have the quarterly report, but we're gonna have this monthly report
We are.
available?
We
Wow.
are.
Okay.
And I don't have to present it every month unless you guys just, want me to wear a new outfit every month and come on in here and show you what I got, because I can do that. I'm not crazy about coming up here every month, but
Yeah.
if I have to, I will.
Is it possible that she could just submit this with miscellaneous reports every month?
we could is, yeah.
And I'll just be available if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to come up and
Yeah,
say
in the
something.
past, it's been a needed asset that just hasn't been done in the past, and it's a really good tool to see exactly what's going on.
Because this gives you
On
a
a
month
monthly
to.
basis instead of
Right,
quarterly.
because now you can get your investments, and then you can see how they flow. You'll see
Right.
that November, December, January, February, Billy collects
Yes.
the majority of our revenue, which is for our expenditures for the rest of the year. So you'll see how that'll rise, and now that she's collected the bulk of it, she puts it directly into tax pool, and me being the treasurer, I get to take it out of tax pool and pay the bills with it.
Cool.
Didn't that sound great? She puts it in and I take it out. We're a team. And the auditor's watching us the whole time. So we're having to behave. Janice has got her job too. And she's got to watch me. So she really earns her salary because she has to keep her eye on me.
All right, guys.
So we've got that going on. We've got our investment summary, which is actually the end of the month
Yes.
balance minus the interest that we earned during the month, because that's included in the revenue. So I did not include that in the investment summary. And then we have our long-term debt, which has to do with our refunding bonds for 2012, and then all of our lease purchases. And Janice and I were talking the other day about maybe adding notes,
Okay.
if they're long-term debts, to add that. But we haven't made up our minds yet. Janice, I'm talking about you an awful lot this morning, aren't I? Well, guys, I just need your permission to say it's good and get your approval on it. If you want me to come up every month, I can. I'll tell you I don't want to, because I'm not fond of public speaking.
Any questions?
We
But if
have to have the judge's signature and our signatures on this.
Yes, because you, as a group, you are the governing body, so you have to
We
approve
may
this.
have to have her judge present this.
If it has to be signed,
Yeah, if it has to be signed, you're gonna have to present it.
yeah, we can discuss that later. and
I can
decide.
say the same thing every month.
Yeah, that's no
That'd
problem.
be
This is
perfect.
a cash flow statement.
Yeah.
This is the ins and the outs, and there's your investments, and I'll be done.
I make a motion, we approve her treasurer's Brewer's
Second.
report, and authorize the judge and commissioners court to sign.
All right. We do have a motion and a second on the floor. Other discussion? No, go ahead, if you have other discussion. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Gerald.
And if
Motion
anyone has a
passes.
question and you want to just come see me in my office, I'll be more than happy to sit and explain it to you. I know it's a little confusing. Pardon? But you have to make an appointment. Yeah,
Thank you, ma'am.
you're welcome.
Item 11, discussion action on a request from Angelina County Auditor to join the Southeast Texas Co-op administered by Region 5 ESC.
I'm requesting that we join the Southeast Texas Co-op because the next item on the agenda is leasing our copiers. And if we join this co-op, then we can get a better pricing than state contract through this co-op. So I'm asking the court to approve joining the Southeast Texas Co-op. The annual fee is $600. But it's an annual thing next year, and I don't know at this point exactly everything that they have to offer that we can make it utilize other purchases. But if it's something that we deem that's not necessary, we don't have to join it again next year. But to do our copiers, we will need to join it this
Pay
year.
for itself this year.
I make a motion that we approve to join Region 5 co-op,
Second.
authorize the judge to sign.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks. All right, number 12, discussion action on request from Angelina County Auditor to lease purchase copiers to the Southeast Texas Co-op.
Okay, on this one, I've got backup. I've got two of the Canon representatives, James, if you and Cindy want to come up. And I just gave you packets before court, so I know you haven't had a chance to look at it or anything, so they're here to explain all this. But just off the top, we had our copiers, the lease expired back in June of last year. And at that point in time, I chose not to renew the lease or to go out for bids again. And so we've not been paying any lease since June of last year. So now we are back to, we have, the jail was having lots of issues with their copier going down all the time. So I decided with the complaints, it was time that we look at it and start trying to get a new lease there going. So anyway, I'll let James and Cindy sort of explain what we've done here. I had Randy to go to every department and to talk to everybody, to get the complaints, to get the problems that they've had and all that. And there really wasn't that many complaints, so. Right, Randy? Okay. Okay.
Whatever you say.
So I'll let James explain what the copiers compared to what we're doing now, the cost and et cetera.
Thank you guys for your audience, and we'd like to just state right off the bat that we're very appreciative of y'all's loyal business. We've been partnering with you guys for over 10 years now and looking forward to continuing the relationship. That said, as Janice has stated, we are proposing that you upgrade the copier fleet at this point in time to address some reliability needs, some cost savings as well. There's 22 units, and down at the bottom of this proposal in yellow, I've shown what the current proposal is, and to the right, I've shown what your previous scenario was, and in the middle, it shows the cost savings that you will have from a service standpoint. There's also, as a part of this proposal, there is a 3-month free period on the lease, so you'll get your first 3 months for free on the lease payment. That will create a positive net cash flow of over $5,000 for the county. That in conjunction with the annual savings on the service cost, in the first year, you'll save $8,742. Going forward beyond that, the savings will be $3,710 in comparison to your current service cost.
James, is that all of our copiers or just the ones that there's issues with now?
All 22 of them.
Really?
Will we be able to add a copier if, because our county's growing? I mean, will we be able to add a copier to this lease without incurring any more substantial costs?
Absolutely. We can add a unit at any given time and do it on what we call a coterminous agreement so that the add-on expires at the same time as the original agreement.
Okay. Good.
This takes care of everything throughout the county.
This takes care of every department that has copiers now. There's some departments that don't have copiers, and then there's some that have just their little personal desktop.
And they own them. Okay.
But this is what we had previously. I mean, this is all the big copiers.
I make a motion we approve the contract authorized to judge to sign.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion?
All right, just let me ask one
Sure,
question.
you bet.
This is everything that the county has as of right now,
That is leased.
That's leased.
that's leased?
Yes.
Okay,
And we can add to it if we need to.
okay, all right,
Now,
I'm just
but-
making sure that we're covering everybody here.
Let me, there's a thing, well, in your packets, there's the Uniflow. Explain that to them. That's an option that we have, and he can explain that. But personally, I'm not gonna recommend it. So, but I mean, it's in the packet, so to answer your questions for it, let James explain it to you.
Canon has a proprietary software called Uniflow. It gives you the ability to measure and manage your entire printing environment, to include your standalone printers. Right now, standalone printers are across the county, and cartridges are being bought and paid for through discretionary funds, and more than likely, there's really no idea how much you're actually spending on printer cost. And this software would allow you to not only manage the copiers, but it would also allow you to bring the printers into that fold as well, giving you complete control over your printing environment. And what we're seeing is about a 35% reduction in output because of this
Additional
software.
costs that would be handled through the IT department. Yeah, but it is an additional cost.
It is.
And it would have to be implemented through IT to actually measure all the locations, so.
So Janice, you
Yes.
recommend we don't go with
Well,
that
I mean, that's
part?
y'all's choice. It's cost $599 a month. And so do we want?
But you own it at the end of the term,
But
if
we
I may
own it
interject.
at the end of the term, but he had told me that if one department does it, everybody's gotta do it.
You do have the.
So that might not be,
We do
something-
have the ability to do department-specific coding, if you will, so that when you put the Uniflow in place, it requires everybody to use a code to release their print jobs and to use the copier. We have the ability to turn those codes on and off, but the usage going through the device is still being monitored. It just wouldn't be individual specific. You do have the ability to drill down and monitor who's doing what. You can restrict usage on your color devices so that your cost per copy on your color does not get out of hand. And then it also gives you the ability, again, to bring the printers into the fold. And again, we're seeing about a 30 to 35% reduction in usage just from the initial implementation of the software.
If we decided in 6 months to come back and implement this, we could anytime throughout the year?
Yes, sir, you can implement it at any given time, and your previous lease on your copiers was $2,709. Your new lease quote, along with the Uniflow, is less than your original lease on the copiers by several $100s.
Really?
Yes, sir.
I have a question, and Chief, you may help me out here. Will this affect the security and sensitivity of documents that the sheriff's office?
Yes, it gives you secure print, so it's HIPAA HIPAA and FERPA compliant. So that, and it also gives you what we call follow me print. So if Janice prints a document to her printer and it's down, she can then go release it at a different printer, and when her printer comes back online, that document does not automatically print out, so it reduces a lot of waste as well. But it gives you the ability to release the print job at any machine across the entire county. So if something changes in a document for court, as we're here today, you could have somebody in your office change it, send the print job to the printer, and then you could release it over here.
Are you comfortable with that, Chief?
Are you just talking about the 22 printers putting this on, or every printer in every
no, all the printers would have it on.
everybody's office?
From a monitoring standpoint, your IT department would have the ability to monitor all usage, but they wouldn't see the actual documents. They would just know who's printing what, how much is being printed, how much is being copied, so that you gather more control over. Your biggest cost is your output cost, the paper. This program reduces that cost just on average by about 35%, just from the waste alone. And then when you incorporate the printers into it, there's no telling how much more money you can save.
And this is costing what a month?
$5.99.
Okay.
And that with the lease is still about $300 to $400 cheaper than your original copier lease alone.
600.
Okay.
And once it's paid for, then the next copier fleet, that Uniflow would stay in place. You wouldn't have to reinvest in it again.
Now, there's a free version that comes with the copiers already, so tell them what's included with that.
The free version only gives you the reports and the statistics. And it's not able to do it on the entire fleet from one centralized location.
Right.
You have to build groups, and your IT department would still have to manage multiple groups, and they're not gonna be able to incorporate the printers into it and see what usage is being done there. They're not gonna be able to have the follow me print or the secure print either. So it's a very light version.
Roy?
But it
On
works.
you were asking, was that gonna be on all the printers or just on the 22, correct? The software will just be on the 22, but the individual standalone printers will be connected, so it can maintain but as far as the
Usage.
software itself, the usage, the software itself will only be on the 22 that we get.
So if you print something, you have to walk to the printer and put in your number, and it will print everything.
You can do it that way, or you can have it release like it's doing now. Don't have to have it wait till you reuse the code. We have the ability to turn that feature on and off in any given department. By turning it off, if someone walks up to the unit to use it as a copier, the machine still records the usage, but not the individual user. So we wouldn't know who's making those copies as far as the reports are concerned, but the overall usage would still be tracked.
Ours is shared in the sheriff's department. We have a lot of people using one machine. I can see the code being good. Print something, say if I print something that's confidential, I got to run over there and grab it. I don't have a printer in my office. We pretty much consolidated and started using copiers as printers too, so we're not buying all the parts.
waste savings and the printer cartridge savings, we're seeing it more than pays for itself. And then it gives you all the security features, and then it gives you the control features as well. Color cost is a much higher cost than your black and white cost, and you can restrict usage, you can limit usage. You can get as creative with it as you want to put you in complete control and save as much as possible.
And James, didn't you tell me that on color copies, that if it's not black or if it's not white, then it's considered a color copy? And it
You got
doesn't
one
matter if
dot.
it's just got one little,
One dot, and it triples your cost of, well, more than triples your cost. Right now, your black and white, on the proposal, your black and white usage would be just over ½ cent per page, and your color usage is almost 4 cents a page, just under 4 cents. And that's a savings in comparison to your current agreement. Your current agreement, you're paying over 6 cents a page for your color, and we're gonna almost cut that in half. But you're correct, yeah, the one dot of color anywhere on the document creates a color click.
people don't understand that, so that's
Yeah.
why I was looking to.
Judge, on this Uniflow, has anyone actually stopped and talked to the IT department about all this, or?
I have personally talked to the
Have
IT
you?
department, and we've worked with Randy real closely on looking at your situation to see what the cost would be to implement it.
Yeah,
It's a very simple process. It'll reside on your server, and then all of the print jobs just funnel through the Uniflow software
But that's something that can be added at any time, right?
anytime.
yeah. I just
A
think
lot of people don't realize when we use the county emblem in color,
Right.
that creates a color copy. I mean,
Yep.
just
Yep.
like that, so.
So Janice, you're recommending that we go with that?
I mean, that's entirely up to y'all. There's different feelings about it. I mean, I know Roy says that it could be beneficial to them because he can print something and it won't print until he gets there.
The fear is the biggest fear is having to put a code in to walk up to use the
Right.
machine. So it would require a cultural change for the ones that want to use the codes. But the tracking of the usage would still be there. Your IT department or Janice or Randy or whoever wants to monitor it, and multiple people can, to see what the usage is and see which department has got the most usage. And then you can drill down if we're using the PIN codes for copying to see exactly who's making what copies. From a printing standpoint, when you log into your PC with your credentials, it's gonna know who's printing.
Can we make the law enforcement side autonomous?
What do you mean? As far as the PIN codes?
Yes, I mean, to where nobody else has access to it, to keep
Yeah.
them secure.
Yes, once we activate the PIN codes, we'd issue everybody in the department a PIN code. So in order to use the machine, they've gotta put a PIN code in to make a copy and release a print job.
Okay. Mr. Litney, you have a question?
Yeah, out at the airport, I might make 2 color copies a year. And in a month, we use one thing, paper or less, just for savings. Very few copies. We do have copies, but they're just off the shelf, off the depot. And we're not in the rental.
So one of the least copies out there. Okay.
Is there a way to, leave us out of that?
Because that's not one of the lease, copiers that you've got out there. That's a private copier, so it wouldn't be included in this.
We don't use enough
Gotcha.
Okay.
to just back off.
All right, guys.
Was there a motion on the floor for this?
There
Not
was,
yet.
and
I thought there was.
yeah, I made
There's
a
a
motion.
motion.
I feel
Okay.
like, that we need to support it, giving the sheriff's office the security that they need to perform the duties that they do.
And in full disclosure, you can add it at any time. Right now, there's a discount applied to it for a multi-level transaction. So adding it at a later date and time, I can't guarantee that the pricing would still be the same.
Can I remind everybody of something though? Because I think I may be wrong, but I hope I ain't. We had a motion on the floor to go with these copiers here, this setup, and then she brought this up afterwards. So this ain't even on the floor, as of right now.
But I wanted
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
Everybody understands.
But I understand that.
We
But
would
see,
have
I
to
can
amend the
I'll amend my
motion.
motion to include it.
yeah,
All right.
Authorize the judge to sign.
Well,
Motion
actually-
is amended to include the option for the increased software. Did we get a second?
Second.
Okay, we do have a second. Motion and a second. Any further questions?
yes, sir,
Anything else? All
yes,
right.
sir, yes, sir. Okay.
You bet.
And that's going with this Uniflow.
Yes,
Y'all putting the Uniflow on this,
yes, sir.
okay. So, was it on this bid here?
Yes, it's in there.
The whole, the Uniflow was in this bid at the same time?
In the yellow section, it's
Okay.
the second, excuse me, it's down near the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I was saying, because you was talking about a while ago, it was cheaper, you know, our monthly payment's gonna be cheaper than it, from 2,700, and it wasn't showing it, I think, and,
Yeah,
but I
the
guess the
total,
Uniflow is in this.
it is, your total
Okay.
payment with Uniflow would be 2844.
Yeah.
Your previous payment with everything was 3308.
Okay.
So it's still about a $500 savings
That's
to
right.
include the Uniflow.
Okay,
All right,
all right. Anything else? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right. Item 13, Road and Bridge 1, 2, 3, and 4, request permission to advertise for 2-year bids for the following: gasoline and diesel, coal patch, asphalt products, rock, gravel, crushed concrete, road oil, pretty much everything.
motion to approve.
Okay.
I'd like to, say something here. Here in the past, we had some discussion about changing the 2-year bid process to a 1-year bid process. I'd like to, for the court to consider that, being that the fluctuation in the prices of materials fluctuate from year to year. You mind, what's the court's opinion on that?
Well, the thing about it, can I?
Sure.
The thing about it is it's been working pretty well. The only one we've had a problem was one of our rock distributors.
Yep.
And, in this little process right here, it ain't something small to do.
No.
This is a lot of work as far as Miss Debbie, you know, getting all this stuff out and everything, so it's pretty good process. So I'd like to stay with 2-year bids right now. So, that's just my opinion on it.
Okay. Other comments?
I think the fuel, they pretty much do it rack price, so it kind of changes every time we order anyway.
Anyway,
And I will say for some of the other products, I know they've mentioned that it was hard to bid 2 years out what's gonna be happening, but this last time, they did hold their prices down. You know, they
Yeah.
compensated on their bid,
Right.
but they didn't, go up on when they could have, so.
Right.
I'm okay with staying the 2 years.
Okay.
Go with pleasure of court and second the motion.
All right. Then we do have a motion.
we got a motion?
Did you make a motion?
No, did
No.
you? No,
You made a
it was still a discussion. All right, guys, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we, go out for a 2-year bid process.
All right.
Second.
For gas and.
Motion and a second on the floor. No further discussion.
None.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, guys. All right, number 14, Angelina County Waste Management Center requests permission to go out for bids for fuel products.
Mine is 2 years.
All right, yours is 2 years. All right,
Motion to approve.
Second.
motion and a second on the floor to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, item 15, discussion action on budget transfer from Road and Bridge number 4, transfer from R&M Hardtop Roads, $2,500, transfer to training personnel, $2,500.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, and I do have discussion. All right. There was, when we were talking about this increase for training personnel, I didn't have a problem with it when Commissioner Cheshire came to me about it. I do have a problem with Hard Top Road's budget.
Right.
Would you address that a little bit?
Yeah,
Just
I
discuss it?
discussed it with auditor, and latter part of the year, we'll transfer the money back in from carryover and our fund balance.
Okay, so we're not really hurting our
No, sir.
road budget?
In fact, but before the year's over, we'll probably substantially increase Hard Top Road budget with the
Okay,
carryover.
yeah, that was my only
Yeah.
question.
No problem.
I didn't want to take anything away from our road maintenance, for
No,
sure.
we're gonna continue to increase that. Since I've been in office, Hard Top Road budget started out at 164,000 4 years ago. This year's 473,000, so we're continuing to increase our Hard Top Road budget.
Okay, good deal.
It's just, the reason it's coming out of Hard Top Road budget this time is because the accounting process is a little bit easier at this point in time of the year.
All right, okay. All right, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, guys. Item 16, consider any miscellaneous and routine items. Everybody had a chance to look over everything?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve them, Judge.
All right.
Second.
And a second. Motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 17, consider approval and authorization for payment of the bills submitted by the county auditor.
You're not gonna pay my light bill this time?
No, I'm not.
Well, that was not, it was just the description was wrong.
The description.
Terry actually paid, it was.
I tried.
You didn't, it was correct, it was just the description was wrong.
I tried, I wanted this
You
thing.
tried, but it didn't work.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
All right, we have a motion. How about a second?
Second.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 18, recess or adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank y'all for your attendance. You bet.